Well, howdy doody. What is going on, guys? Brandon here. Thursday, March 30th, 2023. Can you believe it? What a wild time we have going on. Please share these videos out. The algorithm hates truth. Absolutely hates truth. I just wrote an article and do a video as well on our blog. You can go check out the YouTube video, but the description to our blog as well. The link to our blog is in the description. You can check that out. And it's about, the question that no one asks about Bitcoin. Why, or the fiat system, why does everyone ask this about Bitcoin, but no one asks it about the current system? When the current system is absolutely destroying and wrecking us, Bitcoin is 1,000 times better in this one regard, and yet no one seems to get it. Everyone just scrutinizes Bitcoin, but doesn't even look at the current system that's robbing them. So please go check that out. Let me know what you think of that article. Let's dive into this market update. And again, please share these out because algorithm hates truth. And the only way we are going to see abundance and a better, cheaper cost of living, a higher standard of living is if we share truth. If we share the antidote to the mainstream media narrative. Remember, the mainstream media is controlled by a handful of people at the top. All the mainstream media, culture, Hollywood, the media sources online, the cable news networks, they're all controlled by only a handful of people, half dozen, maybe a dozen people. We've shared these, we've done articles on this before, we've done videos on this before, showing you the puppeteers at the top controlling the megaphones of propaganda. We have to understand the game we're playing. This is why I share these books all the time and talk about these books and the grand chessboard and tragedy and hope and the conspirators hierarchy. We have to understand these processes that we're going through. Otherwise, we're going to have a very difficult time. So understand what's going on. So our market update for today, Thursday, March 30th, United States 10-year Treasury, still about 3.55, right about there. I pulled up the last week here. So you can see it's been kind of stable, actually, the last week here. So not too much movement. It was back down to sub 3.3 a week or so ago. We had some tumultuous times here over the last month, just kind of up and down. But we've had a relatively stable last week or so. So take that for what it is. We still have massive problems. You listen to the likes of Daniel DiMartino Booth and the Greg Fosses and the Larry Lepars and the Dr. Jeff Ross and all these people that are experts in their field, macro and credit crises and commodities and on and on. I mean, it just goes dozens and dozens of people that think we are in massive trouble. We're just in the beginning innings. The George Gammons of the world. We're in the second inning of this banking crisis, this credit crisis. There's ample liquidity, but we really have credit issues, duration mismatches on the bonds because we've kept raising rates. All these banks bought all these low-yielding bonds, and now they're underwater because rates have risen. So now their bond values have dropped, and they're underwater. And when people come to get their deposits out, they have to sell off assets that they're underwater on. This is why these banks are blowing up, and this is what is happening around the world. This is what's happening to countries. This is what's happening to people. We all have to risk manage. Risk management is the number one thing. Andy Tanner, one of the Rich Dad advisors, has his 4 pillars of investing. And it's it's fundamental analysis, technical analysis, cash flow, and risk management. Risk management, in his eyes, is the most important thing. We have to be able to understand how to manage risk. And Greg Foss talks about this all the time too. So please get adept at managing risk and probabilities, stats, things like that. We have to understand that. However, we want to keep things basic. We want to keep things very easy, very basic here. So that's why I talk about removing yourself from the system. You don't need to be a day trader. You don't need to be a risk guy, sit in a risk chair, just selling, buying options. You don't need to do all these things. Just buy Bitcoin, gold, some gold and silver, some food storage, energy, water, shore up those things, ammo, firearms, security, some land maybe if you can, a little garden going. You can do it right in the back porch if you want, a little couple square feet, and get community. Get your community right. That is the number one thing in all preparedness situations. We're going into crazy times. If you haven't noticed, the world's a little crazy. Whether it's the cities, the schools, all the different things going on. Hello. So let's wake up. Let's prepare ourselves. And the more independent, more resilient we are, the better we're all going to be, and the less we need our overlords, the less we need the CBDCs and the global central bankers and the global entities and all these politicians. We don't need any of them. They will go away. They'll fade in the sunset, especially when we have Bitcoin, the only fair trade for ourselves, finite time for a finite asset. Name me another finite asset I can trade my finite time for. Please, I'm waiting. Put it in the comments. So that's number one from the trifecta. Let's look at the Forex here. Let's see what the DXY is doing. 102. So we do have some movement on the DXY though, which is a little interesting. It's been dipping down the last couple, like the last week here for sure. Let's see the last month chart. Last couple weeks. Wow, the last month really been driving downward. And again, people are we have these different things going on in the world. People are starting to say, hey, there's a little pause in the bond yields going up. So, hey, maybe things are kind of good. Let's check the oil now. That's very interesting. Yeah, 74 in oil. So people seemingly a little more excited about what's going on. So the dollar weakened against a basket of major currencies. And again, that's another huge thing to remember. The dollar is just weighted against a number of currencies. That's it. A half dozen currencies. If you're measuring against Bitcoin or something of value or gold and silver, you're getting wrecked. You're getting destroyed, because this is what we show all the time, right? With Bitcoin. Let's see it against Bitcoin. Here's your dollar against Bitcoin. Getting absolutely wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. However, when you look at here, it looks like, oh, things are okay. Like they're still falling. Your dollar is still against a bunch of other currencies. But if you zoom out into the last 5 years, look, like the dollar strengthened. Like, this is great, Brandon. Like the dollar strengthened. This is awesome. This is seeing beneath the surface, though. Price is nothing and value is everything. This is why this is so important. And seeing this right here, the 5-year chart of Bitcoin versus the dollar, just getting absolutely wrecked. So something of actual value, of finite nature, the control experiment, the dollar is absolutely torched. Absolutely torched. And this is what's actually happening. This is the wizard behind the curtain that no one sees. And how come they're not showing this? Can you imagine the bank runs? Can you imagine the things that would happen if they showed this on CNBC? Can you imagine that if they showed this and said, hey, this is what happens when you're holding Bitcoin against the dollar, that the dollar gets destroyed. But no, we just see things like the DXY. This is what the mainstream average person is looking at. They're like, oh, this is great. This is great. So oil is up and the dollar is down. So people kind of pouring on the dollar a little bit here, moving into other assets, buying things up, buying up, maybe some risk assets here, and they're all up. Everything's pretty much green on the day. Things have moved up a little bit. Bitcoin has moved up over the last day or so. It's down just in the last few hours, but back above 28. It was at 28 and a half. So people moving on the dollar. So be careful, be wary. I don't think this is over. I don't think by any means. We're in for such a massive probably depression, just massive civil unrest in the coming years. I don't know what's going to happen. It could be 10 years from now. This is what I've been getting prepared for 10 years. And we'll continue to get prepared for it because I know what's coming at some point. And the governments are going to make it the governments are going to make it terrible, right? Because they put us in this position, stealing our time and energy through inflation, through debasing our currency, through printing our currency. And they're the ones that have created it. They're going to make it worse by being the arson and the firefighter. They're going to do it like this Restrict Act, like all these just crazy draconian measures they're taking, and they're going to make it worse. They're going to make it way worse. So how do you get out of that? One, by questioning everything with boldness, but also don't follow the mainstream narrative and prepare yourself. That's it. And you will sleep like a baby at night. I'm telling you. There's going to be crazy things that happen, but it doesn't have to happen to us. We can be prepared and ready to thrive on the backside of all this. It's not financial advice, it's freedom advice. So please share this out. Please share this out. The truth is what will set us free. Right in the Bible, right there. It's not me saying it, it's right in the Bible. So let's see what the global liquidity indicators are looking like. Gold and silver, again, up. Silver's almost at 24. Holy cow. So these things are really shooting up. Obviously, Bitcoin has as well, like we just noted, up at 28,000. It was higher even earlier. So these global liquidity indicators, they're moving. They're going up. And so you have this weird fracturing in the system, though. You have some people seemingly diving on the dollar, jumping into these risk hedges, and then getting into oil and hedging with commodities. And commodities are the big play. Commodities are the big play going forward. And we've said this all along. I've maintained this for years, that commodities will be the big thing going forward. Gold and silver, if you can get oil, uranium, things like that, and Bitcoin. And then food, energy, water. But so the other thing too is we're going to do some stuff soon on the Restrict Act, nuclear that's coming out, nuclear different laws and regulations coming out, and people all over the world starting to glom onto nuclear, realizing, oh, this is the cleanest, most efficient, abundant technology we have that can power the entire world and have free energy. I mean, who wouldn't want that? I don't know, certain countries, oil producers, things like that. But we're going to get there. We will get there. We are, the people win long term. entrepreneurship, deflation wins long term. We just showed you guys the other day deflation and what the Fed is fighting against. Here it is again. Deflation over the last 20 years. This cratering of velocity of currency, just cratering. Massive deflation of technology, automation, robotics. This is only going to speed up. It's only going to speed up. So we need a deflationary money that is equal to what we're seeing in the world. We should be getting more for less, but instead we keep getting less for more because we live in an inflationary fiat currency world that is the Titanic. It's just sinking. We are sinking. We are choking ourselves off. So we need to start understanding where we are, what we're doing. So I appreciate you being here. Please share this out. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself. And this is freedom advice, not financial advice. So let's see if Bitcoin's running to wrap this up, your market update. And again, can you imagine what would happen? Great, Bitcoin's running. Weird. We can audit it. We can predict it every 10 minutes. We know what's going on. And it's beautiful. Unlike the banks, unlike the central banks, unlike these global organizations, unlike our politicians. It's predictable. I will say this is predictable too, though. The debt going up, the financial repression, the government's inflating their way out, stealing your time and energy through inflation, and then adding to the debt so they enslave us even more, guaranteeing our bondage, guaranteeing our debt needing to be repaid by our time and energy. So that will happen. Bitcoin still, what is it at, number 11 still? But can you imagine, I think that's the name of this video, can you imagine, number 12, can you imagine if CNBC or mainstream news, Fox News, CNN showed this? So Fox News and CNN had clips the other day about the dollar losing its hegemony. And it's slowly losing it. It's a process over time. But can you imagine the bank runs, what would happen if people realize, oh, if I was holding Bitcoin or maybe some gold and silver, what it looks like, the dollar getting destroyed by it. But instead, they share these other charts, obviously, with the DXY and showing us that it's not that bad. Let's see here. I'm going to show you the DXY because these are the charts they show us and say, hey, it's not that bad. Look, things are okay. Look, it's going up over the last 5 years, the same chart as Bitcoin. So very pronounced. Here's the DXY. Here's the dollar relative strength against a couple of currencies that are meaningless, a bunch of other fake trash going up. It looks great versus actual value getting crushed. So I appreciate you guys. Please share this out. Please share truth wherever you see it. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.